The anecdotes that are mentioned in this video are taken from the book Confessions of a Philosopher by Brian McGee. Let us start our exploration of space and time with a small thought experiment. Quote, "Before every day, there must have been a day before. So it must be possible to go back like that forever and ever and ever. Yet, is it? The idea of going back forever and ever was something I could not get a hold of. It seemed impossible. So perhaps, after all, there must have been a beginning somewhere. But if there was a beginning, what had been going on before that? Well, obviously, nothing. Nothing at all. Otherwise, it could not be the beginning. But if there was nothing, how could anything have got started? Where could it have come from? Time couldn't just suddenly pop into existence, bingo, out of nothing, and start going all by itself. Nothing is nothing, not anything. So the idea of a beginning was unimaginable, which somehow made it seem impossible too." Unquote. This simple yet elegant thought experiment shows us how we take everything, including time, for granted. A closer examination of the concept of time shows us that there is a paradox involved in it, as the author writes, quote, "The upshot is that it seemed impossible for time to have had a beginning and impossible for it not to have a beginning. On the other hand, it was inconceivable that time could go on forever and ever and ever, for that would be eternity in this world. In fact, it would be the eternity of this world." Unquote. This reminds us of one of the most important contributions that Aristotle had made to the study of infinity and his concept of potentiality, according to which the infinite is always a potentiality, not an actuality. The actual is always finite. Aristotle postulated that an actual infinity was impossible. In Aristotle's own words, quote, "The alternative then remains that the infinite has a potential existence." Unquote. The author later writes that, quote, "Another was that for something to exist, it must have some sort of identity, and that means that there must be something it wasn't, and that means it must have limits. So it couldn't be both be and be endless, or be and be beginningless." Unquote. Which is another way of saying that everything is something, that is, everything has identity. So to be is to be something. Now let us look at the concept of space by turning our attention to the following thought experiment. Quote, "If I went straight up into the sky and kept on going in a straight line, why shouldn't I just be able to keep on going forever and ever? But that's impossible. Why isn't it possible? Surely, eventually, I'd have to come to some sort of an end. But why? If I bumped up against something eventually, wouldn't that have to be something in space? And if it was in space, wouldn't there have to be something on the other side of it? If only more space? On the other hand, if there were no limit, endless space couldn't just be, any more than endless time couldn't be." Unquote. This could be called the paradox of space. And it took a mind like Albert Einstein, who is regarded as a genius, to attempt the task of untangling the mystery of space and time through his theory of relativity. Yet, it largely remains unsolved. All this suggests that life is full of mystery, as the author rightly observes, quote, "I came to see that the ordinary world I was living in as a place crammed with self-contradiction and mystery." Unquote. We have all heard of the phrase that life is full of misery, which is accredited to the enlightened being Gautama the Buddha and which he formulated as a noble truth. In fact, in the Buddhist tradition, it is the first noble truth. What I am trying to say is that the mysteriousness of life and nature also qualifies to be called as a noble truth. And just like the four noble truths of the Buddha help us to alleviate suffering, the noble truth that life is full of mystery opens the door to a life full of possibilities and fulfillment. Because for a rational man, there is nothing more fulfilling than employing his mind, his rational faculty, his tool of cognition, his reason to the task of untangling this mystery of existence. It doesn't matter if he is able to completely solve the mystery of existence once and for all. What matters is that whether he is able to use his consciousness in an efficacious manner to deal with reality, which is full of mystery. And the extent to which he will succeed at doing such a task is the extent to which he will feel happiness and pleasure. Let me also state that attributing the cause to a supernatural being like God, wherever there is a lack of explanation, leads to more problems and pitfalls than it could possibly solve. As the author says, quote, "It welcomed the self-comforting delusion that we know what we do not know and have the answers that we do not have, thereby denying the true mysteriousness, indeed miraculousness of what is." Unquote. If you enjoyed this video, you would probably like my previous videos too. So consider checking them out, and if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure to subscribe.